we can finally get our hands on one of the most anticipated updates in the automotive lineup of offerings. I'm talking about the Tesla Model Y, which is not only a very important electric car, but a very important car in general, because it is the best-selling model in its segment in many markets. While this new generation has had a big breakthrough in terms of exterior aesthetics, there are some small, but important, interior innovations, and some details that I want to show you in this video. We're going to uncover all of its secrets, we're going to understand where the engineers worked, where they got their design inspiration, spoiler alert, from the cyber engineering, and we're also going to understand what advantages this new generation of the Model Y will bring to the road for everyone interested in buying a very interesting D-segment SUV. I would say let's start with the aesthetic component. The guys at Tesla also gave us an ancient Model Y to understand exactly what has been done in terms of technical and styling aspects. Definitely the part that has the most impact on an aesthetic level is this new coast-to-coast sub-signature cost of the day. You can see it all nice and subtle, giving a new look to this Model Y, and it's definitely inspired by what we've learned to see on the Cyber. In terms of shape and design, it's exactly the same, and it's a daytime element because the lights and depth elements are instead located in this lower mustachio, and make it possible to illuminate the road in front of us even using matrix technique, as they say. And then of course the whole section of the coast has changed, because to cut exactly on the inside of this daytime subsignature, now we have a coast that reaches all the side of the subsignature, and it is no longer patrolled with a part of the bumper that cranes all together. At the front, the car remains very effective from an aerodynamic point of view. These are all CFD-studied shapes with classic mustache deflecting aerodynamic flows to make wheel arches. Underneath there is not much difference in the sense that there is still a lot of air consumption. The only difference is that in this version we have the lower bumper structure. Here is one of the technical innovations that we will see later, and it is another system chamber that is used for park functions. It was requested in high flight by Model Y users, but also with the ability to integrate with autopilot hardware to provide new functions. In the sense of aesthetics, there are no major differences from the side, it remains virtually very similar to the previous generation, except that it is 5 centimeters, or 4 centimeters longer. And on the inside we find a new appearance. A new appearance represented by a different shape of the light clusters, much more modern, inspired both by the new Model 3, but also again by Cybertech. With a cost-effective band, which for the first time ever on the market functions as a direct light. What that means is that there is no LED directly illuminating and giving light, but the LED is inserted up here, and all the light you see slowly, momentarily with a very nice effect in person, I don't know if you can see it in the room, is reflected. Well, the space side always ends in a very similar way, always truncated, always to improve aerodynamic efficiency. Aerodynamic efficiency which you think, has been improved by 5% in this generation, which is not insignificant at all, because it's 5% more efficient. It means that an electric car that is already very efficient as a base, can travel even more miles. Just think that this version you see, which is not the launch edition, but a pre-series of a long space model with full-wheel motors, with 25-inch wheels, reaches the circles of the declared cycle, even with the new 25-inch wheels that have a specific design. Now let's see how the interior has changed. Then we will think about all the features, the opening of the closing of the doors, and the interior that has been completely redesigned. Redesigned by taking all the elements that we have already seen on the Model 3. The top of the whole band that goes across here on the dashboard is really beautiful, with all this LED line surrounding the pass compartment. The driving wheel remains pretty much the same in terms of design, but with a small but new feature that was also requested by Model 3 customers. The left stick has been added with a function only for the indicators, so we don't find them on the driving wheel, but we do find them physically here behind the driving wheel. Otherwise, the interior shows good build quality. I was really surprised, Tesla has improved the assembly tremendously with time. By the way, This new Model Y is manufactured in the Gigafactory in Berlin, so it is a car that is also very well built, and has this floating display of 4 cm pieces in the middle part, that ensures that you can fully interact with the car. The architecture is the same as the Tesla Model 3, the only thing it has changed from the old Model Y is the fact that a new cellular modem has been integrated, capable of achieving a performance of more than 300% in download and upload. This means that the whole connection part is very fast. Nothing new in terms of system management. For the rest, we know Tesla very well, but it is certainly an example for many manufacturers because being able to design an infotainment system from scratch capable of completely managing the car in a very simple way, is not something that everybody can do. From this infotainment system interface, we can access and control both the front hood and rear trunk, allowing me to demonstrate the operational dynamics in real time. The system's capabilities extend beyond basic navigation and programming, including a full suite of interior functions, including climate control, seat adjustments, ambient lighting, and vehicle diagnostics. Then there are the compartments for storing smartphones. Compartments, very deep storing compartments. I can almost touch the asphalt, and a different configuration of this central dashboard that always gives me room to storing stuff, or 2 drinks, and of course, other very deep storing compartments. One of the big innovations inside, and this was also asked of voluntary, is the ability to have ventilated seats, and obviously that is not an option, they are already standard. Great stuff because people who own these machines always complained that they were very hot in the summer, even though they could be conditioned remotely. Now, with ventilated seats, we are on another level of comfort, which, among other things, also comes from another use of glass, that is able to reflect almost 30% thermal energy, or more infrared cooling than in the past, to be even more comfortable in terms of temperatures. By the way, another very clever innovation that makes me realize that there is no longer any difference with the award-winning manufacturers that we have met today, who have decided to customize the machine. You see glass laminated on all surfaces. Obviously not only in the front, but also here in the side and also here in the back. All this leads to better sound isolation, that also comes from the use of different materials to absorb sound between the inner parts and the outer body, that manage to reduce the noise level to an average of about 1% under all circumstances. This sounds like little, but it is actually a lot, and this, combined with a new configuration of the machine, ensures that you can have much more comfort when driving than in the past. I wanted to show you the trunk, which has changed slightly from the inches in length of the car. The trunk remains virtually the same, in terms of volume, a few liters less, but it's just a number, nothing changes. Something different we find in the front. Let's see if I can do it with one hand, because this inner part that can be browsed in 3 with one hand is a little bit difficult to fold in 3, both for carrying items, but with a very specific function, because once we fold these 3 parts, we can twist it down here to have the entire carrying volume of this Model Y available. By the way, from the trunk compartment, which is still very generously sized here in the door, now I'm going to drop it down in this section, so at least you can see it. I can also use these 2 buttons to handle the electric seat retractability, individually, and I can also retract them both. Very convenient, and I can do it both from these points in the trunk, but also from this screen. The screen that compared to the old Y model, exactly like the Model 3, has some upgrades regarding the edge accommodation, and overall the user experience. Why am I saying this? Because aside from the seats, which remain almost identical, almost similar, we have a car that now also has a small infotainment system available in the middle. It's 8 inches in the rear and 15 in the front, and I can control all the functions that I need here in the rear, so I can have access not only to climate control, but also multimedia control, and the ability to play with the various apps inside the car. The build quality, again, is very, very good, both in terms of the construction of the seats, and in terms of the solutions that are used to move all the parts around. It is a car that really takes you to another dimension. Taze has done a wonderful job with time, because he has managed to slightly modernize the car design dogma that has been the same in Europe for decades now, and he has certainly managed to give it an optimization by first starting to design cars from a blank slate. Frunk remains at the top of its class in terms of capacity, or rather, volume of useful use, with a hill that has good focus assist, is actually all-in hydraulic, but very easy to open, you just have to give it a little click to close. Not bad for a car that's approaching the course of the year, with one of the most anticipated modifications, and especially with all these technical innovations, that I don't mind in any way. Coming back to nerd out on some of the new features, I can tell you that in terms of batteries and motors, nothing has changed, in the sense that the hardware is basically the same. It is a car that is going to come in all the versions and configurations that we have realized over time during its marketing, so long range, standard range, all-wheel drive, there will be a version, let's not say, with the ability to have additional hardware because one of the most requested features by customers was the ability to have a front camera. The front camera that I was telling you about has been placed here at the bottom. It will be a little bit wrong, but we will see how this element was handled in terms of engineering. It was added specifically at the request of customers, just like the switch to implement turn signals. It is interesting because it works not only for park functions, but it can obviously also be used by the hardware to handle assisted and autonomous driving functions. So a car that enters the market with a complete feature sectorization does not completely change the identity of the Model Y, but it adds to it to make it much, much, much more modern and, most importantly, much more capable of delivering a far superior experience. In short, these were the main updates to the new Model Y. The only thing I have not shown you is the appearance, because as you can see from the optical indicator, below are the depth elements, all of which are activated immediately, so you can see how the lighting is handled on those virtually small surfaces. There, activated. And here are the elements at the bottom that provide the illumination. In short, what can I say? This was the new Model Y, a car that, as I'm saying, blew my mind in terms of build quality and engineering. It's a car that, even from a technical standpoint, continues to blow my mind because they've designed it well, even in terms of the installation of the drawer, the double taps at the front, the multi-link at the shift. The installation has been revised from the old Model Y because it has been made softer, or at least still able to offer excellent driving sensations, driving speed and driving dynamics, but able to cover the asphalt better and be less dry during everyday driving. All available to comfort. But on a car that has also seen total development in this respect. These are the main new features. This is the car seen in person. I'm curious what you think of this update. An update that doesn't completely change the drawer, but certainly adds many nice elements that enhance the user experience. Let me know what you think below. See you in the next video, back on AM Network. Ciao.